Welcome to the Dietitian Business Podcast. I'm Maggy Doherty, your host, dietitian, and business coach. In today's episode of the podcast, you are going to be a fly on a wall on a business coaching session with me and my new friend, Brittany Brown. She owns a private practice out of Canada called Feeding Babies, Nourishing Souls, and she's a dietitian, international board certified lactation consultant, certified diabetes educator, and mama to two. In today's conversation, we talk about the importance of knowing your values and living into your values as you make business choices that are aligned with your values. And how when you do that, each decision you make gets you one step closer to your vision. We talk about a vision board and how knowing where you want to go helps you get there, as well as talking about setting boundaries with yourself, with clients, ways to practice that. And as you scale, how to bring on an intern to help you do that and the best practices for there. Super fun conversation that's really enlightening. I can't wait for you to tune in. Let's hear it. So tell me a little bit about your practice.
Yeah, so I have a dietitian practice and lactation consulting practice. So I have a dual designation, and I also am doing like a bit of dabbling in media work as well. So right now I do my private practice 3 days a week, and the other 2 days a week I work at a family doctor's office. So that's through the publicly funded healthcare system, and that just is kind of like my security blanket, if you will. And so then the other 3 days a week are my own private practice, where I see clients in an office that I've rented and, outfit to my own business branding. And I'll see them based on kind of the schedule that I want to keep. So most of my clients are the pediatric population. So tending to be like newborns, like 0 to 6 months. But then oftentimes I'll also get repeat clients where maybe their baby started solids and they've got some questions, or maybe there's some allergies, or maybe mom is looking to, get nutrition back in check or whatnot. So I see a variety of those clients as well. And then I also have a designation of being a diabetes educator. So now and again, I'll even get adults that are looking for support from a nutrition perspective, though I try to keep that more to a minimum.
Yeah, neat. So with having your private practice 3 days a week and then having the clinic 2 days, I was looking at your questions that you sent in, and none, I guess, is that a good balance, or are you looking to step away from that clinic and go full into your private practice, or do you feel like that's a good balance?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something that I've thought a lot about. Like, I really like aspects of that job where I'm working in line with physicians and other allied health professionals. We have an OT, a PT, a social worker, and then family physicians along with residents. So there's a lot of diversity in that role, but it's not really something that I find fills my cup in the same way. So when I look through like my ultimate values and like my little vision board, it's more about, how can I create a life that I do work, but that work isn't like that sole focus. And so my goal is to eventually pull away from that job when the time is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a exit plan or like certain metrics that you're looking to hit that would indicate you're ready to step away?
I don't have a certain metric in mind in terms of when it's like the right time to leave this job, but I am kind of trying to figure out where that lands for my family values as well. So, when I'm looking at my vision board, it's a lot more like I want to be able to take my kids to school. I want to be able to pick them up and like do all the things that everybody else wants to do, right? Like, I don't want to be tied to a 9 to 5 that tells me what to do. I'm very autonomous, and I know that about myself. And so that's why I started moving in this direction, but there isn't a clear exit deadline. I keep telling myself at the end of the year, but then I circle back to being like, I don't know that this is the right time. And so there is like that dichotomy, right? Where it's like, like kind of like depend on this income, but do I depend on it because I haven't like given myself more space to grow my private practice income?
Yeah, and there's kind of this spot that I've been in myself, as well as I've seen other business owners in, where like you have this other job that is giving you financial support. It's giving you that like that comfort blanket, and you can grow your practice outside of it. But there's a certain point where like you can't do any more at your private practice because you're spending that time in there. So what's kind of this like jump ship point where, okay, maybe you set a number like I want to be making, let's just say like 10 grand a month. But you actually can't make 10 grand a month if you're staying at your other job because there's not enough client spots. Or once you kind of get to 8 grand or 6 grand, that could kind of be your jump. But I find it helpful to have a black and white number, whether it's like a certain number of clients per day, week, or month on average, or amount of income that you're pulling in. So you have like this black and white on one side that can pull out the emotions, but then the other side is like that subjective part of like, I feel ready, or this doesn't feel aligned with my values. And so it's kind of balancing that like objective black and white numerical number once you hit that with like how you feel.
Yeah.
And then jumping.
It's so true. And like, I guess the other end of it is that because I've been actively working to build a business, there's a lot of things that I've been doing that are free offerings, right? Like this yoga class that I'm doing with moms and babies, like that's a free offering. Or I was doing like a drop-in group every 2 weeks where, you know, again, a free offering, but takes a whole half day out of my ability to see clients.
Yeah.
It's a really significant portion of time if you're giving up 4 hours, right? When you only have, say, let's see here, so about like 3 days times 2, so I guess like 40 hours, we'll say, like in those 2 chunks of time per 2 weeks, and then 4 of those hours, like 10% is going towards these like freebies.
Yeah.
And on one end, it's like, yeah, I need those to build my reputation, client, etc. But where do you pull out from that to be able to say like, okay, I've actually kind of finished with this, or is there still a free offering that I can give? Because that's a really big part of my values. I really like doing that and doing this give back and creating community. But where do you draw the line, right?
Great question. Well, one, are you seeing an ROI? Are you seeing a return on investment from doing these free things that clients are booking sessions or referring people because of this free event?
I think like the return on investment exists, but not as significantly as maybe my peers would assume that it does. So I do this drop-in group, or I had been doing it like all through the winter and fall. I just put it on pause for yoga in the park. And I would have like 35 families drop into this group, like, and it was just like a coffee chat, like, come hang out, I'm there, my scale is here, ask me questions. And I would start to notice that some people would just come to that group instead of booking a consult with me. And so then it almost felt like I almost get like a little upset about it because I feel sort of taken advantage of. And so then I feel like it's almost been like a boundary cross. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got this like thing to build community, but I also have a business that I'm running. So there has to be some sort of like give and take with it. So initially I would say, yeah, there has been a reasonable return on investment, but I don't think it's the same as if I had those 4 hours back in my week, or it doesn't seem like it. My name becomes more known, but that's about it.
There's a couple things I'm thinking of when you talk about that. One is, I always love the idea of if you give something away for free, that the customer's like, gosh, if I got this for free, I can't imagine what I'd get if I paid.
Yeah.
And so I have kind of leaned into that philosophy where I'll give stuff away for free, or I was doing a lot of free events earlier this year. And the same thing, like if someone gave something for free, it's like, wow, if I got this resource for free, I can't imagine what their paid resource is.
Totally. Yes.
Is one philosophy with it. Another philosophy have you ever heard of the book Yourself Solid by Michael Port?
No, I haven't actually. I'll write it down.
I'll send it to you after. So it is a marketing and sales strategy. It's one of the things where the books is like, take what you like and leave the rest, where like some stuff feels really salesy and gross, but other stuff I really like. And they have a philosophy of always have something, what is it? Always have something to offer people. Always have something free to invite people to. And so you're kind of doing that where it's like you always have something free that people can get a taste of what it's like to work with you, to reduce that barrier. And so in part, that's great that you're doing that. I'm curious like what the event looks like with you where people are like, wow, I can just get all this for free. And I'm wondering if there needs to be like a boundary within how you run it. If someone asks you a specific question saying, hey, that's a great question for something we would take care of in a nutrition assessment, I'd recommend you book a nutrition assessment with me.
Yeah.
Here's my availability. So
I have gotten better at doing that actually, because I think, and actually even just posting online things like, okay, like here's the drop-in group, but here's the details. Like if this is a question you can ask in front of a full group of people that could be any single one of your babies struggling with this challenge, you can ask me. But if it's something where I need to follow up with clarifying questions, or, you know, like if it's something like, how many ounces of water can my baby drink in a day? I can give you a cold cut response. But if there's something like, well, my baby isn't pooping, and like, what are some strategies that I can do? Like, those are the things where I think you need to book a consult for. I have gotten better about that since like the initial feelings of, you know, feeling like boundaries are being like crossed a little bit.
Yeah.
But then I put it on hold for a while. So it's kind of like it was going really well for a bit, and then I think it just needed to be put on hold for a little while with the summer months. Yeah. But I do want to be doing something that's like kind of a giveaway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's just establishing like what are the giveaways that are worth your time, energy, and effort? And maybe these 4-hour events may be too much to do every month. Maybe it's a quarterly thing. Or maybe the thing that you're giving away for free is not taking as much of your energy, because you want that to stay in line with your values. And if you like giving back to the community and giving that, you don't want to become resentful if people are taking advantage of your time by you not setting that boundary of, hey, that's a great question for a one-on-one. Yeah. Or the event being such a big time suck that you're like, wow, I could have been with my family.
So many things, right? Yeah. Totally. Yes, that's a good thing to be thinking about for sure. It's also very different. For example, I really have this beautiful vision that I want to create this like little hub for like moms and babies to just kind of come to, and it's like all of their providers are there, like whether it's like me as a dietitian or a lactation consultant or a chiropractor, an osteopath, like a physiotherapist, like whoever it is that they need in their circle can be found in this like little hub with a movement studio. But I've noticed they started like cropping up a little bit more in different places, and it sometimes feels like I've missed out or been too slow to get into the market. Because if I had a space like that, it's so easy to not actually have to pack up all my things and go to a new location to have this drop in. Like it could just be in the studio, right? It's like same location, but right now I'm utilizing a space at IKEA, and it's so generous that they've given me this space. But I have to drive like 20 minutes to get there, set up, be there for an hour and a half, 20 minutes to tear down. Like, so it is like a several hour thing. So I think that just kind of looking at how that might look in the big picture is an important piece as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that question that you had written explaining that vision, and mentioned, hey, do I solicit investors, or am I dreaming up of nothing? And I think it sounds like such a neat idea, and if other people are doing it, that means there's something to be said for that. And there's no reason why you can't make that or get there or create that. What have you, I guess, have you made like a business plan, or like how far has that vision gotten anywhere besides just kind of like dreaming, hey, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've drafted some business stuff for it, but the model that I'm really looking at is more of a cooperative model. So each clinician maintains their own autonomy in like the organization or this like hub, because one thing that I've noticed about getting invited to work at clinics is there's this cost split that sort of happens, and it's usually like 60-40 or 50-50 or 70-30, depending on like who you are, the value you bring, the price point you charge. And for me, I couldn't imagine actually like giving up 30% of the money that I make. Like I would rather be my own budgeter. So I've thought more of it being like this co-op where we're all paying like our rent point, chipping in for a secretary, and we have access to this studio, like certain percentage points. So that's about as far as I've gotten, actually.
So it sounds really similar to a business model here in Texas. There is a group called Girls to Women and Boys to Men.
Okay.
And it's a pediatric physician practice that specializes in eating disorders. They
cool.
have an office in Dallas, and then there is one in Fort Worth. They used to have one in another town called McKinney, but I think it shut down. But so it's a building, and they lease out the offices to other healthcare practitioners that pay them rent. And then they're also independent contractors to their company. And so then on their website, they have like their physicians, they have OBGYNs, dietitians, therapists, but each person is their own entity, but they rent out of this building and then they kind of work together. So it sounds similar. So it's a model that's worked, as far as I know, for them down here. That sounds similar to what you're thinking, where, hey, you get this space, you lease out the rooms, which is great because it's kind of sort of like passive income with, hey, with part of your rent, you're a part of the co-op.
Yeah.
And then they make, I don't know if you'd take a percentage of their fees or they would keep it all and you just kind of charge rent and it becomes this kind of community
That's
of healthcare
sort of
providers.
the more like the route that I was hoping to go is like have, say it's $1,000 a room a month, or like whatever the price point is. I wouldn't know, right? But
and that could be all inclusive, like, hey, it may be higher rent than normal, but now you're listed on our website. We kind of do marketing for you. You're listed on this.
Yeah. And even just like having a secretary or a person to call, and and also I think that this movement studio is a really big asset. I know that that's a big aspect of the postpartum world for a lot of families, is like, how can I do physical activity or get back into movement after having a baby?
I wonder if your like first small step could just, maybe you're already doing this, but like partnering with those healthcare providers you'd want in the studio and like creating kind of this first mini hub of, maybe you list them as like providers on your website and you guys just refer back and forth. And then maybe you found a partner who wanted to go in it with you, or maybe you did solicit investors to be able to get an office space.
Yeah, I have worked with a couple people so far, and the biggest hiccup we found was finding a location that was suitable for all of us. So the way that my city is set up is like it's around a big harbor. And so, like for me to drive from one end of the city to the other, probably very consistent with many large cities, is like 45 or 50 minutes. So we kind of all live in these different areas of the city, like these high caliber providers that you really trust to refer your clients to. And like that location piece has been a big challenge. It's like, where are we all in agreement that we would be willing to drive to? Right now, my office is like 10 minutes from home. That's so appealing. And so this is another like fork in the road. Do I actually move forward on this business model? Because that's like this beautiful vision, and I think it would be awesome. Or am I okay with just going it alone and doing my thing and like just being at like the top of my game as a provider in this realm that I occupy? Or am I like, I have like this bit of FOMO with, okay, like I see these other people coming up with these clinics. I see how I'm starting to lose business because of it. Do I now also need to join forces with people? Or is it just like that it would be a nice to do? Because that's really, I think, the big crook of it, right?
I feel like when we hit bumps in the road or we hit like a fork in the road, there's kind of, right, it sounds right now you have this hurdle to jump over of, okay, we're not finding office space that's meeting all of our needs. I really like this office here.
Yeah.
I feel like when we're at a spot such as you are, is, hey, do I stay where I'm at and kind of excel as a singular provider, or do I pursue this dream? I think as these bumps in the roads come up, you will decide to, do the work and climb over the mountain, or do the work and go around a different way. And so I feel like when hard stuff comes up, we'll push ourselves to get through it or choose a different option. So I think as you continue to get hit with these bumps in the road, you'll notice, okay, you keep looking for more and more office space, or it's taking too much of your time and energy and you focus on your business. Yeah. And I don't think either one is wrong, but I think as you come across these challenges, you'll naturally move through whichever route ends up being the one you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Just keeps like you just keep getting faced with opportunities or challenges and getting to, make the next decision. It's like so powerful just having gone through and listing out like my top values, and then also like that vision of where I want my life to be and to look like, because that makes decision making so much easier. When we were looking at an office space 45 minutes away, like I really wanted to be partnered with this specific person, but then I was like, but that will not get me any further ahead in terms of this ultimate vision of my life. To be able to be close to home, to drop my kids to school, to be able to, go to a yoga class before I head into the office for the day, or whatever that might look like. So having already done that work of like the values and the vision is just makes those decisions a little bit easier.
The value piece is huge. I remember about 2 years ago, I was in a therapy session and we did a values thing, and we listed out all of our values, and my top like 2-3 values were freedom, independence, flexibility, and family. All the F words. And I had realized I was deeply unhappy at my group practice that I had founded, and when I did this values, I realized, gosh, like I don't really have freedom within this practice anymore that I had when I first started as an entrepreneur. I don't really have flexibility because I'm working these really long hours, and then I don't really have any energy left over for my family. And it was like this aha moment where I'm like, that's why I'm so unhappy, is I'm not living into the work I'm doing is completely incongruent with the values. And the reason why I founded this practice in the first place was to have this freedom, and I lost it along the way. And after I did that values, I ended up stepping away from my practice, starting my new practice. And it's so great that you're in tune with your values. And I reactively made my decisions like, oh shoot, I did this wrong, and let me pivot. Where it sounds like you are so in tune with your values that you're able to proactively make choices and move through the lens of what you know is going to fill your cup up, which I think is going to naturally lead you in the right place, opposed to getting there and being like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done this. Yeah.
Thank you.
So good for you.
It's been a really eye-opening thing, right? Just like knowing exactly where you're going, what the direction is. And I've got this like little vision board here on my desk that I look at, and it's so funny. Like I cut out some photos from a magazine, and there's this one photo of this like soup that just looked really good to me. And a few weeks ago I actually made this soup, and I was like, where have I seen this soup before? Like I just like kept craving this soup. It was like just on this vision board, and I like, it was the best bowl of soup I'd ever had. It was just like so interesting how just like looking at something all the time can really be so powerful and really help with finding that, it's like a compass, basically keeps guiding me.
It reminds me, have you read Atomic Habits by James Clear?
I did read it probably like 5 years ago or so. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with him in that book. But there's this one section that just talks about, creating an environment that's conducive to habits, and basically you put stuff up that you want to do more of and hide the cues that you want to do less of. And so it sounds like with that vision board is like, hey, put in front of mind like the things that you want to think about, do, and do more of. Same thing we know if you think about like a client, like, hey, if you put apples on the table, you're more likely to eat apples. If you put candy on the table, you're more likely to eat candies. If you put pictures of soup on your vision board, you're more likely to eat soup.
I've also got like maps and traveling, so I've been doing lots of that, which feels great at beach time. So I think it's really powerful entirely.
I love that. Well, let's pivot real quick. I know we've talked about your vision. You have a ton of awesome questions that you said you wanted to talk through.
I want to know from you, Maggie, how are you incorporating the use of interns into your practice? Or maybe you're not, or have you, like for mutual benefit? I think that's like the next step for me.
I am. So right now I have 2 interns who are phenomenal. I am such a big fan of interning. One, I love to teach. So if your values is like teaching and helping others, like it just feels good to have an intern. And then at our at the group practice that I founded, we also have multiple internships. So I think there's ways to do internships right, and there's ways that are not right. I think what I don't recommend is if you have an intern come in and you just have them shadow you, and you just have them kind of, when they shadow you, yeah, they're learning, but it ends up kind of draining you because all you're doing is teaching and having them shadow you, and you're giving it to them, but they're not really giving back. Mm-hmm. So what I have found works best for interns is, one, they should intern with you for more than 2 weeks. A 2-week internship is you end up giving more than you get back, and it's just not really beneficial because by the time they learn, they just can't pick up enough in 2 weeks. So usually at least doing 4 weeks, the longer, the better. The second thing is making sure they always have some sort of project. Mm-hmm. So if they are, part of their internship is shadowing you, depending on what their rotation is for. The other part being, maybe their project is updating your handouts. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you have a list of handouts that you wanted to create, but you haven't had time. And so you give them the content, they create it, or you tell them, hey, I've wanted to make a best pediatric protein sources. I don't know. Telling them ideas. And so I feel like they can be really great at content creation. Social media is another great one where they can kind of become your social media person. And again, you give them, hey, here's all these handouts, make social media post from those. Or, hey, here's a list of ideas that I had and I just haven't been able to get to it. Or, hey, here's all these videos I filmed, create reels from it. So social media tends to be a way that we leverage interns at my practice as well as the group practice. That's been really helpful. I looked at your Instagram and it's very well curated. Your branding's great.
You.
So
thank you.
That could be an example. You may not want to just, hey, do my social media, but hey, here's all my templates. Yeah. So if you're going to make a post for this.
I do want to give it away.
And so you may have templates. So the other thing that can be helpful with social media is creating like 5 to 10 different like templates. And so then your branding stays consistent. You don't have like random posts showing up. Yeah. What are some other, and then with media, maybe they find media gigs for you. I like to look at, if you look at your to-do list and you kind of look through there and like, what are things on here that I could delegate? Yeah. So really that's kind of what I found best practice with intern is like, make sure they're there 4 weeks. Some things where they're learning from you, but also something where you're getting back, but they're also learning through it as well.
Totally, yeah.
And we're like, they have a project, you don't have to hold their hand or like be there for them all the time either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great set of insight. I think it's something I've toyed around with for a while, but I had kind of put on the back burner just being part-time. And I think actually I could bring them to both places that I work. So,
and then the other thing is, it's kind of like you have like a black and a white circle and then it's like gray in the middle. Mm-hmm. Finding that like overlap of like, what do you need help with and what are they good at? And kind of finding that middle. So for example, I had one intern who I gave her social media and it just wasn't her strong suit. So I'm like, okay, that's what I needed, but that didn't kind of fit your skills. Let's find something else. Found something she was better at. Had a different intern come in who was social media was more up her alley. Yeah. So it's also maybe being able to like change your expectations as well. Totally. But interns are great. Do you
have like a form for people to complete to be interns, like an application, or do you work with a local college or intern program? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so at the group practice, it's a lot more standardized. We have a team of about 40 people. We have a lot of interns who want to work for us. So that we have an application process. For my interns here, I just do like a little conversation with them, and I'm like, hey, this is not your typical internship. Like, this is a business internship of a dietitian. So I make sure I can find people who like business, kind of have that entrepreneurial spirit, and are very autonomous.
Yeah.
If I sense they need a lot of hand holding, it's not going to be a good fit, because I need them to be able to take direction and act upon it and be okay not hearing from me for a few days.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
But I think just a little interview can be all you need.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. Marking that on my list. Okay, I have some other questions for you if you're open to it.
Let's hear it.
Do you also have a current team or support like set up for your business, like admin, virtual assistant? What's your experience been like with that network? I'm talking all things from like social media to editing this podcast to, like, who are you like contracting outside of your business, and what's that look like?
So I started this new business, Maggy the Dietitian, in May of 2024, so about a year ago. And the first practice I started in 2019 was me, myself, and I, and then grew to a team of 40 people. And I started this practice like I wanted to get back to doing everything myself. So I think I had left with like a bad taste in my mouth of, the whole point of a business is to scale so you're irreplaceable. And then I had scaled to where I was replaceable, and it was like, oh, this is very bittersweet. And so really kind of the first year of this new practice, I have done everything myself. And now I'm realizing I have so many offerings and things and moving pieces that I'm like, oh, I think I need help now. I have 2 interns. So
that counts.
So my 2 interns have been super helpful. I would not have a social media presence if it wasn't for them. I wouldn't be to where I'm at to be able to start this podcast if it wasn't for them. So they've been really instrumental and super helpful. It is the summer, so they have more hours right now. So when the fall comes, it'll be, do I need to get more interns? Do I need to hire these interns? Or do I need to get an administrative assistant? I was having a conversation with Jennifer McGurk. She's a dietitian business coach in the States. And we were talking about hiring VAs and getting help. And we kind of talked about how, your profit could be here. And when you hire help, you're paying more. So your profit goes down. So if you hire a VA, you have to make sure you're doing things to bring in more money to cover those costs. Yeah. So as a solo provider, it's okay. Am I okay with this income and stress levels right now? If I hire help, is that worth it to not make up that income? So I am living in my values. I'm not as stressed. Or because I hire a VA to do these 3 hours, can I replace that with 1 or 2 hours of appointments?
Yeah.
And so right now, my main kind of infrastructure is I have 2 interns. My brother is a podcast editor.
Okay.
So
Lovely.
That would be very helpful.
That's great.
We'll plug him, cut the pod. So he is a video editor, does and edits podcast, and makes reels and YouTube videos and all of that.
That's so
he'll
fancy.
be doing this. So he's very helpful. He's unpaid through my sibling DNA. And then I have a phenomenal website designer who's been with me for years and years and years. And a lot of my business is within my website and the e-commerce and all of that. So that's kind of my main help. I had a business coach for a month or 2 that helped me with a couple things, but it wasn't the right fit. So I had let go of him.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then on the flip side if I think about the infrastructure when I had first started building Doherty Nutrition, it was very similar. I had an intern. The intern became an assistant. And then we kind of grew, hired some part-time dietitians, hired a full-time admin, hired a full-time dietitian, hired a full-time billing person, social media, marketing, HR. And so kind of all those pieces layered up.
Yeah.
But I feel like with someone in your shoes, with where you're at your business, I feel like an intern is the best first step to learning how to delegate, learning how to create protocols, procedures, teach someone. And if you realize they're doing a lot of valuable work, one, hire them, pay them, or two, you've now proven that you need this role.
Yeah. I think that's a great insight. I was feeling like that was my next step for like going either VA or intern, and the intern route was kind of jumping out to me. Also because I also like teaching, right? And I think it's really important in dietetics that we get to see people in a myriad of roles, not just in clinical, where, where I think we put a lot of our eggs in that basket as interns. So,
and then if the intern is phenomenal, awesome, you may want to hire them. And so entirely. Now you don't have to be as scared or nervous hiring your first person because you've already met them. They've already worked out. So we've had a pretty good track record of hiring interns because if they work out, they like, it's a great trial period. So it can be another opportunity to find out, hey, do I want to hire another dietitian?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, tell me, what strategies have helped you maintain boundaries while still being supportive and client-centered? And I'm circling to that because you mentioned one of your philosophies is just like offering like the best thing ever to somebody as a freebie. And I feel like I do that actually, but how are you setting boundaries and maintaining that work day, not work day?
Through trial and error.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple ways. One, therapy. I've been in therapy myself for years, and I feel like also a lot of my dietitians that I work with that struggle with boundaries, they don't just struggle with it at work. It's also a personal thing. So I'm sure you realize in your personal life, there's some similar overlap where you may feel the same way that's happening in your personal life. So I historically have had a hard time. I kind of fit that typical dietitian mold where I'm a people pleaser and a perfectionist. And so boundaries can be blurred very easily, or can be put down very easily. So it's been realizing, okay, when someone walks over my boundary and I end up feeling resentful or I don't feel good or I'm burnt out, I always learn through losing my time, money, or sanity. And so a lot of time with boundaries, when you don't respect that boundary yourself. So what helps me maintain boundaries the most is one, looking back in my past and knowing, okay, if I book this client at this time, in the past, it's made me like, ugh, I'm not looking forward to this appointment. So just kind of knowing that from the past, what hasn't worked. And setting boundaries for other people in a way that, I'd want them set for myself, and how I respect other people, trying to respect yourself the same way that you would respect a client. What are some ways that you have or have not maintained boundaries with clients, or where do you struggle?
Yeah, well, I think I identify very similarly to that typical dietitian mind, kind of identity.
We're so stereotypical.
I know, right? Yeah. So I have experienced some moments where I get really frustrated and, just kind of icky feeling that you don't want to have. And in response to that, I was setting up autoresponders on my EMR, my electronic medical record, so that clients, if they were messaging me at all hours of the night, I don't think that the average person would expect an immediate response, but you every now and again will get a certain client that you're like, God, this really isn't a good fit, but we're already in it together. And so I've set up an autoresponder to be able to say hi, thanks for your message. I respond to people Monday, Thursday, Friday between these hours. Thanks for respecting that I have a young family, and I look forward to working with you. And if your concern is urgent, I want you to reach out to and then give a couple resources.
Yeah.
So that's worked out really well. I don't feel as much pressure to urgently respond to, questions or follow-ups. And the other thing that I've been getting better at doing is suggesting in my appointments that people book a follow-up and that we can always cancel it down the line if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also got people to pre-submit credit card information to book with me, because I've had a few people that will cancel the appointment at the very last minute, like without 24 hours notice. And I've even set up a policy now for, 24 to 48 hours notice is like a 50% fee, 48 hours or more is no fee, and less than 24 hours is 100%. So that's kind of felt right to me. And I think the challenging part is that, sometimes I'm faced with like, do I charge this person a fee or not? And I'm the one pressing charge. So I've almost like adopted this like alter ego to be like, oh, I am the virtual assistant.
Yes.
I will.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like, hi, this is Vanessa, the virtual assistant. Like, I'm just letting you know we've put a charge through for your late cancellation, like those kind of things. Which
And that's also
ridiculous.
a boundary. Hey, the boundary is it's this fee if you cancel within this amount of time.
Yeah.
It's this fee if you don't. And again, if you don't charge, you're not but there's this one expression I love. If something along the lines of, if you don't respect, if you set a boundary and you step over it, it is a mere suggestion. It's not a boundary anymore. It's just, I suggest this cancellation policy. So definitely the hardest thing is charging our own clients. And so it's like, if you just kind of black and white, this is the policy, this is the boundary. What I love is when my solo practice owners will communicate like, this is our policy, this is the policy. And so it's kind of, you're like talking about your company as a whole, like, oh, well, this is the policy.
Yeah.
Opposed to like, oh, well, I charge my clients if XYZ.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I like that. Like, just kind of making it sound like it's a bigger entity. Not for that reason, but just to kind of take it off of me as an individual.
Yeah. And the more that you uphold and respect your boundary, the more you're going to uphold and respect your boundary. The more that
and you teach people how to treat you, right? Like, if I keep allowing people to walk all over me, which is not necessarily what's happening, but
we teach people, how to interact with us and what to expect. So if you were responding back to your emails when people emailed you, they would expect that you would respond very quickly because you've taught them that. Yeah. I was listening to this business podcast. And it was basically saying like, Amazon has taught us to expect 2-day delivery or same day delivery. Yeah. McDonald's has taught us to not talk to a person, but do it through the app or through the thing. So it's like, we teach people how to work with us.
Yeah, entirely. Yes. Yeah, that's so true.
Well, I think we got time for one more question.
Okay, let me look through my laundry list here.
There's so many good ones.
Tell me about the turning point that really accelerated private practice growth. Is that the good one, or is there a different good one? I'm open to any of these.
What's a good one? So I don't feel like there was one turning point. I feel like it was all of these different things that led to the tipping point. Almost like, if you're at the water park with your kids and there's that bucket and it keeps filling and filling and filling with water, all of a sudden it just like dumps out. Like, it wasn't just that one drop of water, it was all of the drops of the water. And it reminds me again of Atomic Habits. James Clear talks about the power of marginal gains and the power of 1% improvements. And he tells this story about the Great Britain's bicycling team. And they brought on this new coach, and they, changed the air pressure, the tires, the frame, the helmet, the pillows people were sleeping on, and like changed everything just a little bit. And then they went on to, win all of the races. And so it made me think of that, when you asked that question of like, it wasn't just one thing, it was all of these. So it was, one, accepting health insurance. Two, it wasn't just accepting Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is the biggest payer in Texas. It was accepting all of these other little ones. It was, hiring my first dietitian that led me to believing I could hire a second, to a third, to a fourth. It was hiring an admin and offloading things from my plate. And it was opening the first office, then the second, then the third. And as I look back at my group practice, it's just like all these small things, and it was kind of like whoa, how did we get here? Because so many small things were changing all the time. Mm-hmm. When I think back to just the past year of starting this new practice, I have completely built a new space with business coaching, where it's like I didn't have a name for it before, and I had to do a lot of marketing. And I think the turning point was when I started time blocking 30 minutes every single day to market and network. And if I ever missed one day, then I would make it up the next. In that consistency of showing up there, I'm like, wow, like the majority of people who are finding me are from these marketing and networking methods. Like, oh my gosh, it's working. And it wasn't just like that one day of doing it. So I think with that, it was time blocking, the most important thing that's giving you ROI or generating clients, and being consistent with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Like the consistency can be the challenging thing to uphold if you're not seeing instant results, right? Yeah. So it's so impressive to hear that, like you've done that and that it's kind of really accelerated the growth of your business.
What do you feel like your turning point is, or has been, or will be?
Well, I actually just signed on to do some radio shows with the broadcasting group here in Canada. Mm-hmm. I think that is actually going to make a really big difference, and it's like an unpaid gig, but it's just like a call-in. People call in and ask questions, and I'm hoping that it just kind of helps my name be more like kitchen table recognized. I think that'll be a big turning point. But it's just saying yes to things like, yeah, I'm happy to do this. And leaning into who I am as a person and my own values, and, knowing, that I showing up as the person that I am and that I want to be, and keep saying yes to things that make sense, and also saying no to things that don't make sense. So probably that vision board is very helpful.
Yeah. I love the saying yes to things, and then also saying no. Like both of those things are so important.
Yeah, I've definitely learned over the years that a no for something is a yes for something else. And right? Absolutely. And so that's just so, I remember that moment happening to me and just feeling like it was such a light bulb moment, that every time I said yes to something, it was really denying something else for me. So, okay, I'm saying yes to this. Well, now I can't have movie night with my kids, or I'm saying yes to this, and that means that, I might feel like garbage tomorrow or something. So it's just really helping me to lean into where I want to be going, that direction.
Well, it was so much fun chatting with you. You've given so much I think if there's one thing people take away from this, is just like how you knowing your values has helped direct where your practice is going to go. And I think so many more people could really hone in and know exactly what their values are, and start looking at what choices can they make now in their business that are aligned, and how can they say yes to stuff that's aligned, and saying no to stuff that's not aligned, so they can say yes to stuff that is. So You've inspired me. I think I'm going to go make a vision board after this.
Thanks, Maggie.